Hi, my name is Bartek. That's another episode of CEO Open Mic. Today, my guest is Alessandro from STM Gaming. And Alessandro, one very important question I always wanted to start with. How do I pronounce your surname? What's the correct way of pronouncing your surname?
Probably the longest name and surname you can find in Italy.
Yeah.
Alessandro Pizzolotto. There's that like two Z, two T. But yeah,
All right.
do it the best you can. It's gonna be all right.
All right. That's Pizzolotto or
Yeah.
Pizzolotto? Because
Pizzolotto. Yeah, Pizzolotto. The first one was very close. The first one was very close. You almost
Pizzolotto.
got it.
All right, all right. So, as far as I learned about you, even though you were born in Italy, you're in Malta right now. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah. So our offices are in Mauritius. We relocated there about 3 years ago. Malta is becoming. I moved to Malta. I moved to Malta in 2010, and the infrastructure weren't there, but the ability to allow company to work was there. Where now it's a lot more challenging to work here. So in 2021, 2020, end of 2020, beginning of 2021, just after COVID, we decided to relocate the company Mauritius. As well, we will go into that later, but we do most of our business in Africa, and Malta wasn't really the place. But obviously, we've been here for a long time. My kids go to school here, my wife works here, so it's difficult to pick up everything and move completely. But we have an office there, and I go down as much as I can.
So are you one of those people who say that Malta is too small and actually even to go for a bicycle ride, you don't have any space for that? Or are you on the other side?
I mean, Malta is small, don't get me wrong. And no, I don't bike here. I do bike a lot when I go to Italy. I don't bike here as much because it's not really safe, and plus it's not really flat. So biking is a bit challenging. The island is small. On the other hand, it has a lot of ability for entertainment. Let's put it that way. There's also to be said that in the last 5, 6, 7 years, the island's been built extensively. So it becomes a bit suffocating at times. But again, I guess every place where you've been for 10 years gives you that feeling. But whenever we relocated to Mauritius for a year, and at the end we came back because it has a lot of pros. It's in the center of the Mediterranean, very well connected to it, pretty much every country in Europe, and for our business, you can go out for a drink and meet a CEO of basically any other company.
So is that really true? Because that's exactly what I've heard, that if you want to be in iGaming business, go live in Malta, because you can randomly meet on the street the CEOs of basically any iGaming company. So is that really true?
I mean, look, it's not like you're gonna meet the CEO of the big company every day on the street, but it's more likely you're gonna meet them here than in where you live, in Poland at the moment, or in Mauritius, because obviously the iGaming world is mostly here. I guess it's similar if you live in Gibraltar. I never lived in Gibraltar, but I believe it's similar. Similar if you go to the Isle of Man. I mean, those countries that's been at the center of licensing, emitting, issuing for a long time. They got that kind of people around living the island. And yes, I mean, obviously, yesterday there was a golf tournament organized by Interactive, and you get that here, you don't get it somewhere else. And when you go to those kind of events, you end up finding, if it's not the CEO, some other C-level at company that you might want to talk to or work with or do something. So it becomes a bit easier. Yeah.
That's kind of confirms what I've heard. So what's your professional background? I mean, did you go to Malta before actually getting to iGaming business, or was it the other way around?
So I started, well, I'm an engineer at art, even though I didn't finish my study because I opened my first company when I was 20 and obviously made a few mistakes down the road, but it was a good training. I started with the affiliation business. I started playing poker for fun, and then I found, okay, I might understand what I'm doing. And from there, we opened a company called Game Revolution in Italy, which was doing affiliation. Then obviously running a business in Italy is extremely challenging because of the extremely high taxation. So I first moved to Tenerife. I set up a company there. Tenerife wasn't really the place. And then in 2010, we discovered about the opportunity of coming to Malta and getting some sort of a license, or at least what we were doing back there was legal here, legalized and legal. And so in 2010, I decided to move here. I had a partner in Italy, and together we set up an entity here, and we started doing proper affiliation business, meaning obviously focus on the Italian market, but we were working from Malta. In Italy in 2010, there were still a lot of, let's say, gray market, which was impossible to run from Italy because you could only operate on the Italian brand that were recognized by the Italian government, which back there weren't that many. And we expanded our business a bit outside of the Italian border. So yeah, we came to Malta for that reason. So I would say I came to Malta because of the gaming industry.
Mm-hmm.
I would not have come here anyway. And then obviously it evolved into us becoming some sort of a software provider, and then exploring Africa. And now we are very much involved in operation in Africa.
Right. That's actually, I had that question down the list, but
Yeah.
I can't wait to ask the question. So, how on earth Italian guy living in Malta comes up with the idea to basically set up the businesses running in Africa? Like, what's the how?
Well, it took a bit of time. As I say, we were doing affiliation mostly on poker. Then we started doing a bit of casino. Then we started doing a bit on sportsbook. And then we launched our own brand with a Maltese license running in Italy. And then in 2013, 2014, the Italian government decided to clamp down on this solution because obviously it wasn't paying the amount, the required amount of taxes in Italy because we're running everything with a Maltese license. And then obviously we knew what we could do, and we had an opportunity to open a brand in Uganda through a contact of mine, and we decided to go for it. Back there, we were working with a platform provider called BTOBet, and they were the one that were pushing us to, take our platform and do Africa yourself with our platform. Do whatever you want. The platform is there. Do it. We thought it was a good opportunity because, the affiliation business is really good, but the operational part of the business, if you can run an operation, it's a better business. In Europe, it's probably not anymore a better business because affiliate makes a lot more than operator. But let's say that running an operation is something that we were doing in Italy. We loved it. We were doing very well, and we tried to replicate it in Africa. We opened in Uganda. Honestly, the first operation didn't do very well. We didn't understand what we're doing. We made quite a few mistakes because again, Africa is completely different than Europe in terms of, especially in 2017, 16, 17, internet penetration not there, cost of internet extremely high. So the content we were having on the site weren't the content that the local were looking for. So it took us a while to get it right, but we finally got it right. Now we have a couple of operations that we are managing. They're doing, I would say, fairly well. We're happy with it. And in the process, we decided to move, obviously, the company to Mauritius. I've done a bit of research. Mauritius seems to be probably the best solution for operating in Africa because he has double treaty with most country. You don't have withholding tax. There is a lot of reason why we choose Mauritius: banking facilities, ability to bank in different currency that are not necessarily euro or pound or US dollars, and that was it. So yeah.
Right.
Long journey.
So it sounds amazing. And before we dive into nuances of running the business in Africa, because that's exciting, let's put a little pause here. And would you be so kind to say a few words of STM Gaming? Like what exactly do you guys provide? What exactly is the service that you guys do?
So we started as a platform reseller, if you want to call it, a platform affiliate. Basically, we were the go-to guy for B2Bet in Africa. So every business that was coming via Africa into B2Bet was going through us. Then over time, we kind of switched from a B2B approach to a B2C approach because B2B is, I don't want to say challenging, but the market in Africa is not the same. There are 54 different countries, and I don't want to say they're all different, but not many are similar to one another. There are a lot of different things that you have to do in order to be top 3 on any of those markets. And it's difficult for a platform provider to be able to adapt to any of those markets. They might do very well on one, but then they're not going to do very well on another. And there are plenty of examples that we can dive into later. So we slowly moved, especially over the last year and a half, first on helping our client with everything that was services, acquisition, retention, customer support, and so on and so forth. And then I would say a year ago, we took over our first operation where we said, okay, let's do our own B2C. And we are increasingly focusing on B2C. We still offer platform when someone asks, but they need to be really interesting project. It's not about quantity anymore. It's about quality. We want to do very few platform resell where we know that we give the platform to someone that has the right budget to enter the market. In that market, the platform that we propose is performing, and we can help with our services to make sure the operation is a success, because otherwise the turnover of client is extremely high. Everyone every day believes that they come into Africa and they're going to do well, and then, oh, I have $100,000. Let's do Africa because Africa is cheap. No, it's not. It is, but it's not. You might need 10 million in UK. You probably still a million. You probably still need a million in Africa to have a chance of doing well. Okay, it's not that cheap. So yeah, we basically, what we do now is focusing on our own operation, our own B2C. We're focusing on a couple of other projects where we don't own the operation, but we're very much involved in running the day-to-day operation, meaning the acquisition of client, the retention of clients, all the data analysts, all the data manipulation, and so on and so forth. So we're very involved. Let's put it that way. And then we have a few B2B where we provide the platform, and that's it.
Knowing that B2B clients are not your primary goal anymore, and you do pretty tough selection of who could actually become your client. If you were to say, all right, so if you really want to become our client, you have to meet these requirements, and what the requirements should be.
I mean, right now, what we're looking for is people that have a license in a country, as a local presence, and want to expand, and they don't know how to do it. And we come in and say, okay, we can bring in our own tech, maybe some capital, and all our knowledge on how to run operation in those countries. At the moment, we are extremely focused on the East Africa market. We know East Africa a lot better than West Africa, simply because most countries in East Africa also speak English, or at least it might not be their primary language, but everyone speaks English. Where in the West Africa, most of them speaks French. And even though my team, they're all French speaking, because Mauritius is a French speaking country, I don't. And on the onboarding on the business, I'm still very much involved. My marketing team is not Mauritian. So there is some language barrier when it comes to run the acquisition, which, again, we are proving that in Mozambique, that's not a problem because they speak Portuguese and we prepare all the content in English and then we have a translator. But, we want to do certain market that we know well, where we know we can really be an added value. So those are the clients we're looking for. Then obviously, if European company wants to go into Africa and are looking for a partner, that's what we're looking for. Those are the targets that would have a more than local company that wants a platform to work, because most cases they either don't have the resources or the skill. They want to compete with the number one, without understanding the number one maybe spend $500,000 a month in marketing and they want to spend €5,000. And regardless how good you can be, it's difficult to compete.
Yeah. Getting back to the B2C sector, because we can see a lot of traffic. I mean, we at Create IT, we get more and more inquiries about the African market. And my impression is that, exactly as you said, most of the investors from Europe, they treat Africa as a promised land, whereas there's no competition at all. It's super cheap and it's completely unregulated, so you can do whatever you want. Basically, the understanding of the African market is very low. So you mentioned that the differences between certain countries are bigger than you might expect. So can you elaborate a little bit more about that?
First of all, Africa is divided in the Muslim area where gambling is basically non-permitted. You can still operate with Curaçao, but it's all different business. And then there is most of sub-Saharan Africa, which is regulated. I would say 80% of the country in the sub-Saharan Africa are regulated locally. You need a local license to operate. The reason being that the way to deposit is not credit card, but it's mobile money, which is this. Basically, imagine having your local provider, which can be, I don't know, Vodacom or whatever it's going to be, Orange or Tree or Wind, whatever. And you have an account with them, a mobile money account where you load the money into there from, you go to the shop and you put money in it, okay? Or from your bank, you can transfer money into their account. And from that account, you pay everything. You pay bill, you do grocery shop, you do everything. It's basically you have a credit card in your phone, but it's not a credit card. Africa completely skipped the credit card process. And they don't onboard you unless you have a local license. So in most countries, you need to have a local license. Now, is Africa easier than Europe? Yes, of course it is. Okay, it's not comparable. I mean, if today you want to enter Italy and you don't have, I'm going to say a crazy number, but it's not crazy. It's probably very, very low. $5 million, don't even start, because you're competing with basically everyone else. And it's the same in UK, it's the same in everywhere, basically. Okay, in Europe, obviously, there are some Eastern European countries where it's a bit cheaper, but we were looking at Romania and it's not that cheap. I think a license in Romania now is $2 million, or you have to put 2 million guarantees, and you have to rival with 3 or 4 very big local company plus Unibet plus there are a bunch of newcomers that comes in and they have a lot of money. Okay, so it's obviously cheaper and easier, but it's not 100 times cheaper. Okay, it's probably 10 times cheaper. So what you can do here with 5 million, you can do that with 500,000. But you still need to have an understanding of what you're going to do, and you cannot replicate the same content that you sell in Scandinavia, sell them in Kenya, because they're not going to work. Africa is a market where there is a lot of opportunity. You just cannot go blindly thinking, I know what I'm doing, because most likely you don't know what you're doing. It's like me going to America and say, oh, let me do the same thing I do in Kenya. They're not going to work. Okay, and that's why we only focus in the market, because there is plenty to do.
Speaking about money and speaking about investment, I do understand that the level of investment in terms of amount of money that you have to spend is lower. It's not cheap. I mean, it's cheaper, but it's not free. But what's your impression on the return of the investment? Like, let's say, do I operate on lower level of money, but still the percentage of what I get back is quite the same as let's say in Europe? Or do you see that market as more profitable in fact,
terms of
European
profitability? I would say definitely Africa has a much higher profitability. The point is doing the numbers that you're going to do in. The thing is, there are hidden costs that people doesn't realize. So deposit and withdrawal, very expensive. Okay, you can easily pay 4 or 5% deposit and 1-2% of withdrawal for mobile money, and they impact your business a lot. So profitability in per se is much higher, but then you also have to deal with 3 million transactions a day for crash games and so on and so forth. So your server cost is much higher. You need to optimize that. If you don't do that, your costs are going to go through the roof. And we've been through that. I mean, we got a point where we couldn't scale because technologically we weren't able to scale, and we have to rework completely the way we work with the databases, okay? Because it was becoming super expensive for us to run that on cloud. So obviously there are some hidden costs that, again, people doesn't see when they come in, but they're there. Getting money out of the country is also, in certain countries, not in all countries, a challenge. Currency depreciation might be a challenge, even though, for example, we're pretty big in Mozambique. So there are some costs involved that you might not, I mean, people that used to work on the European area, on the Eurozone, might not see. But definitely the profitability is much higher. I mean, sportsbook alone, at the end of the month, the profitability is probably 10% higher than it is in Europe, just because people play a lot of multiples. So there is more hit or miss than single bet, multiple bet. And then at the moment the crash games are going crazy, so we're doing very well on crash games, and that is a fixed margin.
It sounds that surprisingly you're kind of inviting a lot of competition.
Look, they're gonna come. They're gonna come anyway. Hopefully, they're gonna come with us, but they're gonna come anyway when the market is good. And again, a lot of people come in and doesn't make it. I mean, I've seen company coming in and leaving because they were struggling. It's not an easy market, but it's probably easier than going, as Kindred shows, than going to the States. It's probably an easier market, but also the return on investment is completely different because the volumes are different.
I remember us talking before, actually, we started recording today. You mentioned that players in Africa, they behave differently, right? It's if you try to adapt the European technology and just copy paste it to African market or European or American, you're going to fail, because what you mentioned, the number of transactions they're doing is like much higher because the value of transactions is significantly lower. So are there any other differences like that we should be very aware of if we wanted to enter that market?
First of all, is product. I mean, I think the product, over time, things change. I mean, today, Africa, in many countries, there is 5G running without any problem, and internet costs went down a lot compared to when we started doing Africa. I still believe product optimization in terms of performances is extremely important in terms of front end. There is still quite a bit of USSD betting, meaning people that bet with their phones, sending SMSs because they don't have internet connectivities. That is still very much there, especially in East Africa. So if you don't have that, you're going to struggle. If you're a casino-heavy oriented operator, you come into the African market, casino might not be working as much as you think, because again, the games are, I mean, most of the games of the content creators that we know are 10, 15 megabyte. Okay, that is fairly heavy for a 3G or 4G. Or if anything, you're really going to shrink your target audience because the guy that used the Techno, which is a Chinese brand, I believe they're Chinese, of phones that cost $45, their browser just cannot, the phone just cannot render that complexity on the front end and struggle with JavaScripts and so on and so forth. So I think the first thing to look at is product, and then which market you want to go in, because Nigeria is completely different than Kenya, and the top Kenyan operator tried to go into Nigeria and they're nowhere near the top 20. Vice versa, the number one operator in Nigeria or number two went into Kenya and they pull out, I think, 4 months ago. So the market is pretty different. I mean, Nigeria is really a market on its own. And it's, I would say, fairly complicated. But yeah, Africa, it's every country has something particular. There is country that are more retail based, country that are more USSD based, country where you need to have Opera Mini, an Opera Mini solution, which is basically a front end without any JavaScript. So you really need to understand where you want to go first, and based on that, make sure you have the right product. And you might not have the right product for all the market you want to go in. So one product, 10 market, it might not work. Or it might not work in 5 of those 10.
Not easy, right? I mean, with the great interest rate comes the great challenge. Keeping with the technical stuff, how about hosting? Can I think of it as I think of it in Europe? I'm going to go for AWS and it's just going to work, or is it more complicated?
Well, we only work with AWS, both on B2Bet and on Best Starters, which are the two platforms that I'm currently using. More than the hosting is about optimization of how you manage data. Okay. Now, if you're going to technicality, I might not be your person. I know that we've done a lot of work in optimizing the way we manage our cloud because of expenses, mostly because, I mean, the amount of data is crazy. But yeah, you're going to use the same. You're going to use the same principle you use in Europe. You just need to be very mindful of how you manage the data, because you're going to have a lot more cold storage and you know, data that you never use and stays there, and data you do use every day and needs to have a lot of interaction with it. Now, how that works, I don't know, because I don't have access to the code, unfortunately.
Of course.
But the principles are the same. It's just that the sheer volume forces you to be a lot more focused on optimizing the way you work, basically. And I mean, I'm sure you understand optimization a lot more than I do.
Probably, yeah. But it's frankly speaking, now that you're talking about it, it's kind of obvious that with the limited access to the internet, you have to be very aware of what is the data that you're transmitting to the users. And of course, what you mentioned before, the amount of data you're processing is just higher. But you know, I wouldn't think of it, you know, just like that. I would probably have to learn it the hard way. And most of the other people that would like to become your competition, they would probably learn it the hard way as well. So do you recall any other things that you just learned the hard way that it took you years to actually, you know, nail?
I mean,
that you can share with
what
us?
we struggle to understand is that, and we're still struggling to understand, is that you don't change customers' perspective, or it takes such a long time. I mean, we look at Nigeria. Nigeria, there are two leading operators. One is by Niger, the other one is by Kings, and they're basically a copy of each other. Now, whoever's going to listen, they're going to be angry at me because they say, "Oh no, we're different." No, you're not. They're a copy of each other, and the reason why they work is because they're a copy of each other. And we try entering the market with different solution, different layout, different way of working, because we truly believe those are better. But at the end of the day, the client doesn't agree on that, and that's why I would say over a year ago now, we pull out of Nigeria, because the market where we really struggled entering, and everyone that is doing well got to a similar way of presenting information on the page to client, because the client are used to that and they're never going to change. Mm-hmm. Where in Europe, the clients are always willing to test something new. Whenever you roll out a new feature, they're there, please, let me see the new feature. Yeah. Correct. No, but we are all those, like that. Oh, Bet365 release something. Let's go and test it. Okay. In Africa, it's not like that. They're used to something and they want to keep working that way. They used to have those 3 clicks to see their my bet. If the my bet is not the way they want it, or if the cash out doesn't work the way they used to, they're just not going to play with you, because they're used to certain habits and they want to keep them. And I believe that's a big difference. and we launched Uganda not long ago, and we're doing okay. But we are seeing that most of our complaints are, yeah, I play that and they do that, and that is always the leading operator. You should do the same. And I'm like, yeah, but we are doing this, which is so much cooler and so much streamliner. No. We like that. And you have to respect that, because at the end of the day, they're the one that pay your bill, right? So yeah, what we heard the hard way is that clients, punters in Africa are used to certain way of playing, a certain way of working in the site where they currently play. And if you come in with something new, they're not necessarily going to like it. And they're more likely going to say, hey, you need to adapt to them if you want me to work. That happened to us in Nigeria, where there are two leading brands and they're really similar to each other. If you look at Bet Kings and Bet Ninja, whenever someone does something, the other does something very similar. And they have a massive percentage of the market. I believe they probably have over 70% of the market between the two of them. And everyone is used to their way of working. So whenever you come in with a brand, if you don't do the same, you're going to struggle. And that's why at some point we decided to pull out from Nigeria, because it's a difficult market. I don't want to go there and copy someone that can overspend me every single day in marketing. My idea is that I come in with something different and trying to take your client because I have something better. That doesn't work. So it's difficult where the only thing you can do is overspend someone, because it's difficult to overspend someone that is already making millions and millions, right? So, and Nigeria is like that, but there are many of the countries in Africa where we've seen the behavior, where in Europe, whenever you come out with something new, they give you a chance because they want to see how good you are. In Africa, they tend to, try you out maybe, but then say, oh, you don't have this feature, or this feature is not exactly the same as they do it, and I like it like they do it. Oh, but mine works better. It doesn't matter. I like that. I've been using that for 5 years, which makes sense. I mean, ultimately, you want them to play on your side, so you have to be the one adapting. But if you're a software provider and you want to enter multiple markets, it becomes challenging, because in many markets you have a lot of things to change, and that's what happened when we entered at the beginning. We were at some point we were in 17 countries, I believe, and we had every country was asking for 10, 15, 20 things to change. What do you prioritize? How can you manage 300 tickets, 400 tickets? It becomes difficult, and they're all must have, So that's why we decide to move back into a B2C approach and do our own businesses, where we change only the things that we need for our own business. And whenever we take on B2B, we take on B2B that we know we can service without having to change much. Because then, most B2B wants to come in, have a budget. And then when you start asking them, but to build this is going to cost them much. Yeah, no, I cannot do it. Then other argument comes in, which, you do software, you know how these things work. So, exactly. I mean, everyone expects you to do things for free.
Yeah. At the end of the trip, you're the one responsible for a business failure, because if we had like 500 more features, then we'd probably win the market without any kind of market.
And then you run your own operation, like, okay, you know what? Yeah. The platform actually work because I'm making it work. So why am I making it work? And that's what we noticed. I mean, we struggle with bet in Africa because of feature missing, and now we have 2 operations with them. They're doing pretty well, and the platform is not perfect, don't get me wrong, but you don't find a platform off the shelf that is perfect. Okay, same with best starters. They're not perfect, but they're a solid platform.
Yeah.
And you can make it work. It's just that you need to be willing to make it work. I'm sure that if we look at how some of the big guys work, we don't know it from outside, but inside, they have a number of people doing manual tasks in order to get to the end of the month. Okay, so I know that for certain, because some of their C-level is a friend of mine. So I know for certain that there are a lot of things they cover manually, but from the outside they seem perfect. But they know, they just want to do it,
It brings me to the nowadays the hype around artificial intelligence, where half of the AI services around the internet are basically just physical labor hidden behind the scenes. So yeah. You mentioned the marketing, and being able to overspend. Well, that's quite the same on every market. But the question is, shall I think of marketing in Africa in the same way as I think of marketing in Europe? Like, affiliate marketing is king and do SEO and things like that, or is it
You
special
would be
in some way?
surprised how little people do that. And we are personally investing a lot into the SEO part of the marketing. And we've been investing a lot into affiliate marketing. And we're now connecting Income Access with basically all our brand to be able to really push out, to really be able to onboard a lot more affiliate. Affiliate marketing is big. We've been onboarding affiliate marketing with the current tool that we have that is not performing. And now we're switching to Income Access. There are a lot of affiliate driving traffic in Africa, and especially we have a lot of East European affiliate that's traffic in Africa. And it's good traffic. I mean, it's good traffic. You can get revenue share, you can get CPA. There is, I would say, a good 35 to 40% of the traffic that we have, it comes from affiliate. And the point is, a lot of the local do not understand how affiliate marketing works, and they feel they're giving away money where you're not. You're paying someone to bring a client to your door, and they don't understand how much work.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because I've been also an affiliate and I know how much work it takes to actually get there. Okay, but you will be surprised how many operator, even mid-size, the big guy, most of the big guy does affiliate marketing, but a lot of mid-size guys do not do affiliate marketing. They do not invest in it at all. They do not do SEO. I mean, we've been obviously studying the market quite a bit, and there are so many operators that are doing well, and the number of backlinks they have is ridiculous. The number of keywords where they're listed is ridiculous, and they just spend a lot of money. In Africa, is very much, the idea of street marketing is, predominant, and it does work, but it's also extremely expensive. And it's difficult to really track down which one performs and which one doesn't. Is it the bus that performs? Is it the billboard? Is it the painting on the walls? What is it performing? You don't know. I know that it works because we see the organic traffic that comes in from whenever we do certain specific campaign, we see spikes, but it's difficult to really track down. And a lot of big companies mostly invest in that and not into retargeting, into proper SEO, into paid ads, into everything that is digital. And yes, digital marketing is massive in Africa, and you get access to a lot of users. So yeah, I would definitely do affiliate. I would definitely do SEO. I would definitely do what you do in Europe. It works. It does work.
It sounds like a promised land to any kind of digital marketing agency or affiliate marketing people. Basically, what you're just saying is that go for African markets. Do it. It's so easy.
It is definitely easier than Europe. It's definitely easier than Europe. Obviously, again, keep in mind the value is much lower. I mean, I think in Mozambique we pay $6 in CPA or something like that. It depends from which source. Probably less than that, but so obviously the value of the client is a lot smaller. But if you do it for yourself, there is a lot of work to be done there. We started doing a lot of SEO in the last, I would say, 4.5 months, 5 months. We onboarded a really good SEO person, and we've seen increasingly good result from that front. We've been growing organically a lot thanks to all the work that we've been doing, and I believe it's something that most operator doesn't pay enough attention to it. Definitely.
That's amazing. It's like, the easiest thing you could do.
But you need to have knowledge about it. It's not, I mean, understanding how to do it is not super simple. We have learned how to do it. But if you can put a banner on a bus or the boda boda in Africa, there is something called boda boda, which is this guy with a bike that take you, it's like a taxi, but it's a bike taxi. Okay. If you can give them the jacket with your name and that work, you do that. Okay. Because that's so much easier to manage, right? And it does work. It does work. Don't get me wrong. It does work. It's just that it required a lot more investment. It required a lot more coordination, and there is a lot of fraud and cheating because they can take a jacket, throw it away, where they cannot not see the ads that you're playing, or they cannot not find you when they're searching if you are properly ranked. So, and again, it's difficult to track. But if you've done that and that's always worked for you, it's difficult to say, hey, let me try something different. But again, if you cannot outspend some company, you need to really work on what they don't work on. And that's what we do with our operation, because we cannot outspend the top 2 or top 3 in Mozambique. I mean, we can all spend Betway, we can all spend 888, and they're there. So the market is not super open. Betway is there, 888 is there. There are a bunch of other companies that are pretty big that are there. So please don't come into Mozambique. No, I'm joking.
Did I get it right that you said that billboards are all fine and what I would call the offline marketing, which is prohibited in most of European countries, like TV ads, is it all legal or does it
Funny
depend
enough,
on the country?
in most country you don't get whitelisted by Meta to run ads. It's a struggle to get whitelisted by Google to run ads. It's really, really a struggle. But you can run TV ads. Yes, you can. I mean, if you get a partnership with MultiChoice, which is DSTV, which is basically our Sky in Europe, Imagine Sky in Europe, they're present in all the countries. I've been in Africa, and I've been to quite a few, and you can run ads through them. You can run ads through local TV. But what we're seeing working a lot is, it's billboard, is painting walls, is giving out this jacket. Offline marketing works a lot. It's just that you have an amount of real estate available, all right, and it costs a lot of money, and then no one, you cannot stop anyone from going painting over your wall, okay? And what are you gonna do? It's not super easy. It's working. We are investing quite a bit on that, in the 3 countries where we're working today. We're investing quite a bit on that, and it's working fine. I still believe that we need to push digital a lot more because, 5 years ago, that was the only way. Now is 70-30. In 5 years, it's going to be 70-30 the other way. Okay, so
Thinking long term.
And I'd rather be the first one doing certain things, even if they might not be, relevant right now, but they will eventually become relevant. And when you have the foothold, it's easier than having to play catch up.
Yeah, there's this old saying, it's better to be first than better. So,
sure.
Yeah.
It's true. I mean, when you're better, you need to spend a lot of money to become better. If you're first, you might become better without having to invest as much.
Yeah, it's just easier. All right, to close that part of conversation about the African market, if you were to share what was the biggest aha moment for you, the moment that you just opened your eyes and you said, so this is how it works, and at the same time, what was your biggest disappointment?
Well, our moment, there is not one. There has been many, and is really going there, visiting the country, go around the country, not stay in your hotel, and going out and really seeing how people bet, how the shops work, how the population understand gambling and what it means to them. I mean, there are shops where you find, I remember a shop in, I think it was in Dar es Salaam, where I went in and the floor was literally, there was a 2 centimeter of white on the floor, and you're like, what's that? And they were all the receipt from the virtual games. And then I understood, okay, we should do things differently in our shops with the brand that we run because we're not doing it right. That was a long time ago. There's not really a moment, but the main changes is when I started going around Africa for real, and not only going to your hotel and meeting your partner, but really going out, taking a taxi. And the first time in Uganda, I rented a taxi for 3 days, and I went around the country in all the cities around Kampala to actually see all of our shops and all of our competitor shops. And now I do the same basically in all the country we work. When I go down to Mozambique, I make sure I see what's happening inside our office, but also what's happening on the competitors. And then you really understand what's working, what's not working, because if you don't do that, you're never going to understand it. So I believe there is going to be a lot of moments, understanding how important product is, understanding how important performances are. There has been plenty, and they all lead to where we are now, where I believe there are a few markets where we're extremely knowledgeable and we are performing well. Other markets where we're looking at going in, and we're doing a lot of market research, because again, that's extremely important. If you believe that because the neighboring country to where you work fine is going to work the same, that's a mistake. There will be something different, and there is already going to be a leading operator that's doing their own thing. You need to go in and try to do their own thing plus something else. In terms of regrets, I don't know. I mean, exiting Nigeria was something that is not a regret, but it's something that annoys me that we didn't manage to get it to work.
Okay.
But Nigeria is a really, really, really complicated market, and there are two leading operators that have a big chunk of the market, and they're not looking at giving it away anytime soon. So yeah, I would say that was I believe if you can make it work in Nigeria, you're going to be a very wealthy person because it's a big country. But on the other hand, making it work is really complicated. Plus, the legislation is complicated. The licensing is not super simple because of being a federal country with all the states, and every state has their own license. Plus, the federal license, and now the federal license is kind of having some issues with the Lagos license. So there is a lot of thing going on, and the currency keep depreciating at an alarming rate. So I'm happy we're out, but I'm a bit annoyed that we're out. I'm happy we're out because we weren't doing well, but I'm annoyed we're out because it's a market where I would have loved to do well. Let's put it that way. So yeah, that's it.
All right. So you've been running business in Europe, and you are running business in Mauritius, in Africa. So what are the major differences that you would point out? If I wanted to open a company now, if I go there and open a company, what are the things that me as a European I would not expect to happen?
Well, in Africa, a lot of things. Efficiency is not the same as what we are used to. You live in America, so you used to have everything digital, everything to work in a certain way. Everything. Yeah, exactly. Where in
Now,
Africa is not like that. Mauritius is not really the same. I mean, banking in Mauritius is amazing. What we struggled in Mauritius was hiring and scaling our team. We're still having some issues, but I believe we're past that. And we had to adapt because obviously living in Malta and working with a lot of Scandinavian, you're used to I don't want to say ultimate perfection because they're not perfect, but they are extremely, they optimize their time. They deliver whatever they promise, and they're very efficient. Where at the beginning, Mauritius, we did not do very well on the hiring department. And, people tend to tell you, oh, I'm going to do 10, and then they're going to do 6. And you're like, yeah, but we agree on 10. Why are you doing 6? And that's a problem that I believe finally we're past that. But yeah, I would say the hiring has been our main issues. Besides that, Mauritius is a very efficient place. I mean, I suggest people to come and open a company because the tax regime is extremely understanding. It's not zero, don't get me wrong. There is not zero tax. You pay tax, but they are at an amount where you're happy to pay them, and you get access to a really good banking system. The government is very stable. So all in all, we're happy of our move in Mauritius. Is lifestyle is cheaper also than Malta, so that also helped. The only problem is the staff is going to take you a bit to understand how to hire your staff more than anything. You need to really make sure you find the right pieces, especially me being remote, having the right pieces on the top that can, make sure the office runs smoothly. For the rest of Africa, doing business in Africa, efficiency is not really there. I mean, you might find out that you apply for something and your application has been buried somewhere because you haven't paid the right person, which is annoying because you did everything and you are waiting and you could wait forever. So you need to know your way around in Africa. And that's why whoever wants to go into Africa should have a partner they trust. In every country where we operate, we have a local partner, which we trust because we've been working with that partner for years now. And then we decide, okay, we become part of your B2C. But before, we go through a period of providing tech. And that's super important because they are the guy that deal with the regulator, they deal with banks, that deal with everyone. And you need someone local because if you go, you pay twice. The moment you come out the plane, everything is twice expensive. Okay, so you need to have a local partner. Yeah. So that would be my suggestion. And then besides that, doing business in Africa is actually not that difficult. I mean, the country where we've been working, we have had no issue. It's just using the proper channel to do things. So that's it.
How about time? Because my impression with we have some background with working with Asian countries, well, some of them, and my impression was that to handle anything in a public office or in a bank or any kind of like major institution, it's doable. It doesn't always involve the bribe, but the thing is, it always takes time. Like whatever you plan to take like 2 or 3 days would take 2 or 3 months.
Because
So
there are,
is it
yes,
the
it's the
same in
same,
Africa?
meaning, and again, there are ways to make that in 5 days
Mhm.
instead of 3 months. And we go back to what we were saying before. Obviously, you don't have the facility that you have in Europe or in America, where again, you can pay your taxes online. You can do basically everything online from your computer now, not tomorrow, not in 3 days, is now. That doesn't work like that. I mean, we still have some client that has to go to the bank to pay us to prepare the payment form, okay, which I haven't done a payment form since I was probably 19 or 20, which is 20 years ago. Uh, that is still happening. And
Mhm.
but yeah, so obviously you don't get things done today for tomorrow. But yeah, that's how it is. You need to get used to that. And again, there are pros and cons.
Just
You
have to
just need to,
calculate.
yeah, you just need to get used to the fact that you cannot go into an office shouting and screaming and say, "Oh, I want this done today," because it's not gonna do you any good. Let's put it that way. But all in all, I mean, there are a lot of opportunity down there, and the people in Africa are amazing. I mean, they're extremely hospitable, extremely people. Now we do a digression. Every time I talk to someone, oh, you've been to whatever, Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, whatever. Oh, it's dangerous. No, it's not. It's not. It's not. There are a couple of countries in Africa where I will be a bit aware of where I am, but they know you're there to do business and to improve their country. So there is really no. I felt
Mhm.
unsafe in certain part of Italy more than I felt unsafe in most part of Africa. Obviously, there are some areas where I would be a bit aware, but those are everywhere. I mean, correct.
Just don't do stupid
So
things,
all in all,
and
Africa is an
nothing will
amazing
happen, right?
continent to go and
Yeah,
visit, and
yeah,
there
yeah.
are so many things to do there. For our business, I believe it's an interesting continent. You need to have someone, not necessarily me, but someone helping you in going in to avoid the same mistake that we all made because we all made them. So nothing more, nothing less. It's like if I have to go into Asia, I'll need
Mhm,
someone
mhm.
to explain me how to go into Asia.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, our experience in Asia tells us exactly the same thing, especially what you said about landing in Asia and then trying to set up the office or set up the company. Everything costs twice, you know.
Yeah,
It's just, we call it a tax,
it
a
is. It
newbie
is. It is.
tax.
It
So,
is.
yeah,
It is.
it's exactly like
Unfortunately.
that. But once you've set up the business and once it's kind of mature now and it's kind of running, how often do you, as a shareholder in the company, how often do you have to be there physically to, I don't know, sign the documents
So
or
Mauritius,
go to the
I
bank?
don't need to be there physically because everything is done by DocuSign or whatever. So that's again, Mauritius is not really Africa. Mauritius is I
Cool.
I really I would I would call it the Singapore of Africa. Pass me the example. It's not Singapore, not even
Okay.
close, but it's fairly modern. You have a lot of big bank, HSBC,
Mhm.
Standard Chartered. You have a lot of facilities. So I don't need to be there. I try to go there every 2.5 months. I try to go down mostly because I believe in meeting the people you work with. You know, it's nice to go out with them. It's nice to
Mhm.
have meeting in person because sometime after a long period of having meeting online, you kind of lose the feeling of how the person really feels. And then normally during summer, we try
Yes.
to go down there with the family because summer in Malta is brutal, like 40, 41, 42 degrees, really, really hot. So I don't want to be here. And down there, we have a nice situation, nice location, and we're settled down there basically if we need to. And
Mhm.
because we spent almost a year during COVID there, and so yeah, it's more family related. The fact that during summer we want to go there, we don't really as operation, you don't really need to be there, but you know better than me that running a business remotely, I mean, you travel between one place and the other, and you spend long period of time between one place and the other, and you don't have all your team in one place or the other. You want to at some point spend some time with your team in the office, and I'm not a big office guy, but I believe it's necessary for a period. You know, having face to face meeting is different.
Mm,
They're just different.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, at the end of the day, business is all about people, right? Saying that your customers or your employees, but it's still, if they don't know you, how do they,
Correct.
generously work for you?
Correct.
You would just become just a random guy, and
No,
just
exactly. And I mean, I
just a
see
provider of
even
money.
even in
That's
our
it.
operation, when I go
Um,
down, I see that I get things done. When I go to Mozambique or I go to Swaziland or I go to Kenya, I get things done a lot faster than I get things done when I'm here, because when I'm there, I pack 5 meetings, and on those meetings we actually make decisions, which on Skype or on Teams or on whatever, they're like, yeah, let's adjourn in a week time and discuss. No, we don't have to discuss. We have to take a decision. We need to go forward one way or the other. So when you
mhm.
are physically there, it's easy to take decisions. So even there, I try to go in all our countries at least once or twice a year. Ideally twice. Now, obviously, life happens, and sometimes it's difficult to travel because then you have all the traveling to do. But at least once a year. In most cases, I go down twice a year in every country.
Okay. Wow.
Well, I
You do
mean,
travel a lot then. that's
that's why
that's a
we
lot.
close a lot of operations or a lot of country, and we focus on the one where we know what we're doing, because yeah, it becomes tiring to travel that much. The last year I've been traveling a lot less, a lot less. And I want to keep it that way.
Mm.
8, 9 travels a year. That's it. That's enough. Once every month and a half. That's enough.
Speaking of traveling, you were talking to the person who've never been to real Africa. By real Africa,
Yeah.
I mean the southern parts, not Egypt or Tunisia. So if you were to point out, I'm asking as a tourist now, if you were to point out one particular place that you would go with your wife for 2 weeks of holidays and basically enjoying the paradise, where would
Well, there
that
are a
be?
few actually. So we have done a safari in the Masai Mara, and it was amazing. And that, in my opinion, is one of the best things you can do.
Mhm.
Kenya in general is really nice because you have all the coast, which is amazing, Malindi and so on and so forth. And it's really close now. The Chinese government built a massive railroad from Nairobi to Mombasa, and then under Mombasa you have Malindi, and all the beach side there is really really pretty. And then you can take a small plane from Wilson Airport, which is a small airport in Nairobi, and they take you into the Masai Mara. That's amazing. South Africa is beautiful. Cape Town is amazing. If you like wine, go to Cape Town. You have all the There is a wine train as well that goes through the
Mhm.
Stellenbosch area, Francis Bosch. They've all these names I cannot pronounce, and they're really well known for their wine, Shiraz, Chenin, and so on and so forth. Besides that, what I also enjoy a lot was Dar es Salaam in Tanzania, because you have Zanzibar that is like maybe 40 minutes boat ride, and Zanzibar is really pretty. But also Dar, I find Dar to be really really pretty and really safe. So those three are the place where I would be. I recently been to Maputo again, and the thing is, every time I go to Maputo, it's either raining or it's bad day or it's winter, and I never experienced Maputo during summer. So uh, I need to try to go down in Mozambique and Maputo during summer and see how it is. But the other three countries are really, really nice. Obviously, Mauritius. I mean, Mauritius is beautiful for holiday. Really, really beautiful. Uh, yeah, don't go during summer because you have the cyclone. But if you go
Okay.
in March, April, you still get the heat, but you don't get the cyclone. So yeah, when you want, you call me. I'll sort you out.
Right. Right.
I'll organize something for you.
I would appreciate it. So basically, from everything you said today, go to Africa. You're gonna earn a lot of money with reduced investment. You're gonna have less competition that you would have in any other continent, or okay, in Europe and States in America. Uh, Go there for great views and great holidays, and enjoying the life. So yeah, let's go
Listen,
to Africa, right?
if done
Do
right,
business and
there is a
leisure in
lot of
Africa.
potential in Africa. Like I believe there is in most emerging markets, South America, Asia, but you need to do it right. And the, it's not super simple to do it right. It's not ABC. It's not copy paste. Let's put it that way. So if you do it right, there is very good potential in most, and there is a lot of market that's not been explored, which we are. There are a couple that we're looking at now, but there are a lot of upcoming market that people has not even gone yet, and they're starting to roll out their licenses. So yeah, there are opportunities. As everywhere, you need to have an idea of what
Mm.
you're doing, because if you don't, it's easy to lose money like it is everywhere else. But would I go and open operation in UK or in Malawi? Well, I'll do it in Malawi. Okay, because I believe I could do better
Mhm.
for every bucks that I invest.
At the end of the day, that's what we are looking for, right? All right. Thank you so much for your insights today. That was Alessandro Pizzolotto.
Well done.
I
Impressed.
hope I pronounced his name correctly that way. Thank you so much, and
Thank you,
probably see you in
Bartek.
Africa
Looking
sometime
forward to see
soon.
you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.